Hey everybody, this is Jimmy Beach with Exposure Software. Welcome to our webinar today. We're going to go over a wedding workflow where we have a selection of wedding images and we're going to process those from beginning to end. So feel free to ask any questions during the demonstration as we are monitoring the chat. And so there also will be time at the end for any Q&A. So before we begin, I will give you guys just a few seconds to let adjust your volumes and all that stuff. I want to give you a little bit of history, and that is I'm using Exposure X6 today. That is our latest version of our advanced non-destructive raw photo organizer and editor. And today we'll see how it can handle your entire post-processing workflow. Specifically, wedding images. So where we begin is typically copying those images from your camera card. So that's where I'll start. So here inside of Exposure, I'll hit Tab to bring back my panels. And now I'm going to go to Copy Photos from Card here in the File menu. Now typically when you place your camera card into your computer, this screen will come up. This is also a preference. Some people don't like this screen to pop up. And so let me close this and I'll show you in the preferences. So here inside preferences, general, then we can see, where is it right here? There it is. When a camera card is inserted, launch the copy from photos from card dialog. So if you don't want that to come up when you insert the camera card, click it off. All right, let's go back. Here we go. Okay, so this is pretty simple and straightforward. We're going to select our camera card right here in the select source area, and it will populate with images here in the middle so we can preview these files. And then on the right side is where we set our destination and options. Now, typically when you're working with wedding photos, you're going to have, or event coverage, you're going to have a lot of images that you're going to process. This is not a 4 or 5 images. You're talking hundreds, sometimes thousands, depending on how you shoot, who you shoot, whatever. So let's think about how you were going to edit these photos with a long-term strategy. Okay, so for example, I do a lot of lighting test shots at the beginning, before I even get into shooting at the wedding. And so those shots, I won't even copy those to my camera card, or from the camera card. So I just select them off here. So as we can preview through these images here, and I don't see any shots like that where something's, you walk from inside to outside, or the clouds change and it's really dark or really light. These ones all look fine, but we'll take a first pass and just skim over them really quickly to make sure that we're not copying anything that we don't really need or want. And so then over on the right side, let's let all these thumbnails come up here. Looking pretty good. Let's move it down, and then as those populate, I will continue talking over here. So I want to move it into, this says my pictures folder, and that's not what I want. I want to put it in my photos folder on my desktop. I put everything in there. Keeps it nice and organized, and then I'm going to generate a subfolder and name it Frank Salas because he's the guy that gave us all these images to work with today. And I'm even adding here in metadata, you can see that I'm adding his copyright to these photos as they're being copied. Cool. All right. It looks like we don't have any images that are obvious that we don't want, so we have all of them selected. I have everything set up here. I'm not renaming the files. They're already renamed. They look fine here. And I'll press OK. When I do that, it's going to start the process of copying images to the computer from the camera card. Now, I'm going to point out, it does it really quick. I'm in a USB 3.0 connection from my camera card, and I do have a fast camera card. So here's the folder. Yeah, I was kind of hoping that I could show you while that slowly copied those photos over that I could move the progress bar out of the window and we can just begin working because Exposure does not use a catalog. Okay, so those images now were copied from the camera card and they live right on my desktop. So there's not any extra level of having to get through a catalog or anything to deal with. So you can see right here, here's my desktop. and the photos folder, and then any of the edits that we make are going to be inside the exposure software folder. I'm just showing you the example. Here's Frank's images that we just copied over, and we can see that there's a sidecar folder already right here for all of these images. So as we make adjustments to these images, they will save to the sidecar files. Okay. All right. So now we have our images on our computer, and now we want to start to go through and call these down to just the ones that we want to keep and edit. Okay. So that's the next phase in our development work here. So I'm going to close the left panel to give myself a little bit more real estate to see photos. And now I'm actually going to do, so let's do one thing at a time, okay? So when we go through images and we select which ones we want to keep, which ones we don't want to keep, or there's a few other things that we're going to take a look at while we do this. So I'm going to quickly go through here, and any images, now this is something that I do in particular, so any images that are obvious to me as being showcase images that help tell the story best, I'm going to mark those, okay? So we already previewed these images, and I think they're all really great images to work with in the first place, but we do have some duplication, and that's like right here during the ceremony. You can see that there's a bunch of different things happening, and they're very similar, these images are. So usually when I'm picking images to edit, I will only edit one of these, and then I can always duplicate whatever edits I apply to the other images. So hopefully I'm clear on that. So let's start by, I'm going to mark these, and I'm going to use the shortcut keys to do it so that we can do it really quickly. And so I'm going to hold down the Shift key and hit plus to mark the ones that I want to keep. Now I'm doing that in the grid view so that you can see that it's automatically going to the next image in the batch. That one's a good one. All right, so here we go. I can also do this while I'm zoomed in at full screen here. So this one's cute, but I have a duplicate here that's very similar. So I'm going to keep this one because she has camera contact, right? So I'm going to mark that one with a plus. That one's good. Okay. Oh, you see that hair on that one? I'm going to minus that one. Okay, so here we are, and we know that we have a couple of these ones. So they're looking at him, they're looking at him. He's kind of making a talking face. I can also zoom in here, so I'm going to click my mouse button. So I'm zoomed in at 100%, so we can look through these images while we're at that magnification. See, this one's good because he's making eye contact there. So I'm going to hold Shift and hit plus. And see, now he's looking at her. That's not bad. This one's a little bit more zoomed out. Yeah, oh yeah, horizontal shot. That one's good. Shift plus. Now see, we have one similar to that, so I'm not going to choose that. There we go. Well, we need, this one has more area around it. Let's go back here. We'll get one of these vertical ones. This one. And you can see when I go back and forth between these two images. Here, actually, I can just, I'll put them both on the screen. So here, let's do horizontal. Nope, vertical. So between these two images, I selected this one on the left as a pick, whereas this one on the right, you can see that the wind blew, or he stepped off to the side here. So we don't want that one. We want this one. Pretty simple stuff, you know. So, oh, I have it in. I'm going to go back to single view. See, that one's not quite as good. That one's good. All right. I keep forgetting to hold down Shift. So whenever I'm going through these images, I want to point out that I have all of the, what are they called? keyboard shortcuts, you can find them here in the help menu inside of Exposure. So as you're working, you can just click right here, go to the keyboard shortcuts. And as a matter of fact, the manual's here too. So if you ever have any questions about anything inside of Exposure, you can pull up the manual, and there are links to all of our videos, as well as descriptions on how to use all of the stuff inside of Exposure. Okay, so I'm holding down Shift and I'm using plus and minus. And that's it. Let me go back. I think I already have a shot like that, so I'm going to ignore that one. Nope. Yes. Nope. Nope. Yes. So as you go through and you call down through your images, my goal here is to, let me go back here and I'm going to escape. I think we're just about halfway through. So anyway, my goal here as I make this first pass, I know that I'm going to make a couple of passes looking at these images, because you can't just, if I spend more time editing, so I put my filter here so I can see what images I'm looking at here. So I have about 30. So where were we? Turn that back off, and then we can see here's where I'm at. So another thing that I want to point out is as I'm going through here, I'm looking at things that are kind of obvious. If the wind blows, or if somebody turns their head, or if they have their eyes closed, that's the kind of things that I'm looking for here. Now, once I get through all of these images and I can choose which ones that I want to edit, then we go on to the next phase where we actually process those photos. Okay, so let me see here. I've ran through a bunch of these. I'm going to continue to do that really quick though, and I think I'm going to just do it from the grid view just so that we can make it a little bit quicker, knowing that any of these that I select, I always have like duplicates that look similar. Look at that. See her on the side here? I'm not going to use that one. And so if I just have a selection of them, I know that I always have other options to come back if I do some edits, or if I do something that I really like, or if I don't feel like I have enough coverage, something like that. Then I will come back and grab some more images. But at first, I don't really want to do that because I want to save myself from editing every single shot, because as you can see, like there's a grouping of shots here that are all similar, and so I'm trying to find one that looks nice out of these, and then I can come and revisit it. Also, a lot of times when people are talking, I look for when they're making vowel sounds, not consonant sounds. I think they're a little bit more forgiving to people's faces when they make vowel sounds. So, oh, that's good. Just got hitched. So cute. Here they are walking. Bam. That one's a good one. Do this one too. All right. Oh, so fun. I would love to be here. Just saying. Frank, next time you go on location to, it looks like Hawaii, you can invite me. Anyway, oh, these are great too. Oh, on the beach. I like this one's more traditional. That's cute. Yep. And those are cute. Okay, cool. So we made it through. I'm going to apply my flag filter, so that all my flagged images now. So I've cut the images down to about half of what we had originally in the card. Really quick, took a couple of minutes to look through these images. Now we haven't looked at them in great detail. Right now we are just making our first pass, and we're doing that as quickly as possible. Okay, so the next time I'm going to go back through, and now I'm going to start to take a quicker or closer look at these images. I'm also going to mark them if they're significant in a storytelling moment. So that's really what I'm trying to identify. So personally, when I'm editing photos, I usually deliver color and black and white images when I'm doing wedding images. Now, that's just the way I do things. But also, so I will choose out significant moments in the story of the wedding, and I use those as my key moments, and I use those and change them to black and white. So that's just the way that I do things. I'm going to show you the demo, so I'm going to show you how to do that. So yes, we're looking for significant moments inside of the story, okay? So I'm going to get a little bit bigger, and then let's think about this. So this is like she's nervous right before with her friends. That's a good moment. This is like a close family thing, so I'm going to choose this one. And now I'm going to use color labels this time, and that's to mark these with a significant moment. And that way I know that I have, it's easy to go through and pick out which ones they are. So I'm going to use the keyboards again for the shortcut keys. I'm going to apply a yellow color label, which you can do by right-clicking on the bottom right edge of the thumbnail and select yellow. Or let's go to the next significant moment here. So here she is getting dressed and ready, and she's like about to leave. This is like the last moment before she goes to get married, I think. Yeah. So that's probably another good one. So I will mark that one with yellow. I hit 7 on the keyboard. Okay, now this is where she's beginning her walk down the aisle. And then there's going to be a significant moment as they are getting married, but I'm not going to spoil that by letting that be black and white yet. So this one's good. I'll make that one black and white. And let's see. And when they smooch. Oh, when they cried. That's a good moment. Yep. And then when they're done. Let's do this one. Cool. Now we also have some moments here too, and I want to. So let's see here. What story we have? We have. Then they leave. They're just now getting married. Here we have this one. They're walking off. Yay, yay, yay. And then probably I would put them on the beach together like this one. So let's add our yellow color filter here, and then we can see which images we have. Let me make them a little smaller. Okay, cool. So now think of this as the summary of the wedding. We have her and her mom and friends, nervous, walking down the aisle, married. There's 2 married shots. Okay, so I'm going to remove this one, unset. Now that's gone. There we go. Married, and then on the beach afterward. I think this is a good break. So, okay, I'm going to hit escape. We'll go, whoops, let me turn this off. Command O will take out any filter that you have applied. We'll remove any filter, excuse me. So let's go back to our pick images, right? All right. So now here's something that we can do in exposure that's going to save you a bunch of time, and that's edit multiple photos simultaneously. So I'm just going to grab all these photos, and we have a couple of things. We have our photos picked out. We have a couple of things labeled. Those are our significant ones that I think we're going to turn black and white. I also want to, after I apply this, I'm going to do a couple of edits, and then I'm going to use my colors as I'm editing to help me mark where I'm at, so that if I go away from the computer and I come back, I know where I am. Anyway, so here I am. I have all of the images in the folder selected, 55 of them. And then I'm just going to hit auto. Ooh, before I do that, if I hit auto, it's going to apply to all the images simultaneously, and it'll go through and apply all the tweaks that it needs to. So underneath our auto menu here, we can set the strength of what we want these automatic edits to do. Now, typically I leave my exposure bias alone because that's how I shoot, but Frank shoots differently than I do, and so I'm going to change this exposure bias and just lower it just a little bit. As I was looking through these images, I think that we could get away with doing that to all of them, and I can always bring that stuff up. So I'm just doing that. It's just one little tweak that I'm making there. And then I will hit auto. Now, it's going to do a bunch of stuff right here. It's going to edit all of these images at the same time, and you'll see how the edits apply to the images as we scroll our way down. You can see it populating there. Okay, So now that I've done that on all of the images, they've all been tweaked just a little bit. So that's really the first step in our editing workflow, where we've kind of just got it so that it's it's in the ballpark of the way that we want to develop the look. Okay, so now that we have that done, I'm not going to start with that image. Every time that I'm going to edit an image, the first one, I want to have people in it. I want there to be skin in it, and I want there to be all the colors in it. So that's usually where I try to begin, is in each scenario. So we have a lighting scenario up here where we're inside. So out of these shots here, I'm going to edit one of them that has most of the colors in it. So let's do, that one's dark. That was a bad example. All right, let's do this one. So yeah, we have some color here on the wall, we have their skin, and then they have all these colors in their little nightgowny thingies. So if I hold down the backslash key, we can see what the original image looked like before we did any applications of our auto adjustments. Okay, so that looks like we have a little bit of dark happening, which is totally fine with me. One thing that I would suggest is that we break up the edits that we make into boxes, let's say. So for example, we will, now that we've applied our automatic adjustments, the next thing that we would do is we would only, we don't want to get into retouching, right? So you only want to do a little bit at a time. So like after we have applied our adjustments, instead of editing them all, all of the edits to each image, you want to stay quick and on your feet, so you want to apply quick adjustments that are going to correct any issues in the photo first. Okay, so like corrective tweaks like lens correction, right? Lens correction. Now, this lens is automatically handled for us, the lens correction is, so I'm not going to touch that one, but if I needed to do that, I would do that now. Another thing that I would do at this phase would be any cropping and straightening that I would be doing, like if the keystoning that's happening right here inside of the on the door here in the background is bothering me. It doesn't in this image, but if it did, I can make some tweaks to the transform panel here and make that better. Okay, I think it works, it's fine this way. And then yeah. So another thing that we can do in applying just adjustments and tweaks to the image, we're looking at making corrections. So we talked about transform, we talked about cropping. Let's talk about noise reduction and sharpening. So again, I don't really see, we are at 100% view, and I don't see a lot of noise. And so, yeah. I don't see a lot of noise. I'm going to zoom in to 200% just for a little bit of sharpening. Now, because this is a situational thing, this sharpening that we're applying, I'm going to apply it and copy it. So I'm going to apply some, and then I will hold down the Alt key to apply it from the radius, and that's how wide the sharpening effect is. Now you can see that it's going to grab her blouse, and that's why I'm looking at this on the sharpening, because of the nature of this, the contrast in her blouse. We're going to take a look here. Oops, radius, there we go. Now I don't want to cream it because it's going to make that blouse look really weird. So now, use the masking slider and bring that down. I just want to grab the edge there. You can see I'm grabbing important edges on her fingernails, and on her face here. Let me hold that down again. I don't want to grab too much of this image and sharpen, just a little bit. And then, again, there's not much like noise or anything here, so I think that looks good. So I'm going to hold down the backslash key so we can look at it here. And with the sharpening applied, it looks nice and really, really sharp. That looks good. Okay, so we applied sharpening. I'm going to skip noise reduction. I don't see any. So, and the colors look right. So now we have a pretty basic edited image, let's say. It has no corrections need to be made to it. All right. So we did add sharpening to this image, right? And so most likely, let's see here. Most likely the same scenario for our sharpening would work on this image without blowing out, all the detail of her dress. So let's go copy that. So we can go to copy settings. Now, I'm going to copy settings and not copy all settings. However, really all I've done here is basic edits and sharpening. I didn't do anything else. So I can just copy all settings and then paste them all. Let's do that again. So now I'm going to grab all of them and apply the same sharpening to all of them. Okay, so I have them all and then paste. Ta-dam. Okay, so now I'm going to deselect. So really we just applied our sharpening to all of those too. Let's look over these images really quick to see if there's anything that we're going to do like cropping, and we're going to run through them that way. Here's a good straightening one. We would just want to get these the words down here to be straight, so we'll straighten them out. That looks pretty good. Okay, and now this one looks a little bit dark because this is a white background, and that happens. You know, when you use an automatic adjustment, sometimes it doesn't always work. So I'll just reset the exposure slider here. It looks pretty good like that. Now, I have a couple of tricks up my sleeve, so I'm going to come back to this. It's not completely edited. This is just any issues that I see in the image we're going to take care of now. So we'll zoom in. That looks really sharp. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so we'll move on to the next image. Same kind of thing. Check for sharpness. Make sure that the exposure looks right, which it doesn't. Looks a little bit dark. That's okay. I knew it was going to look dark. I told you guys it was going to look dark. We did that one. Now, when I'm looking at these images, I want to make sure that her dress doesn't get blown out. So that's really where I'm at. If I look at something quick, you know, it might seem a little bit dark, but I'm going to do a little bit of some brushing later in the workflow to bring her up a little bit. Okay, so this one I'm going to make a tweak to get rid of this edge. And I'm going to do that with the transform panel. Here we go. That looks better. Actually, no. Okay, so here's a little trick. Whenever you have a bride, brides like to look thin, right? And so if I actually, oh, wrong one. If I actually scale this, you can see that it stretches her a little bit, right? And so the way that it's shot right here, it's not going to make her Frank's taller than she is. She stepped down, right? So because of the perspective, she's a little bit larger in the shoulder than in the hip. And so instead of accentuating the hip by widening the bottom here and taking this out, I'm going to crop it instead. Anyway, little tricks of the trade, you know. Ooh, yeah, I'm also going to take out this chair over there. Now I'm leaving this crop square the same size as the original. I think I'm going to take that thing on the bottom out. Right, so I'm leaving the aspect ratio the same. Yeah, that's good. Better. Okay. Good. Now, since they're cutting off their feet down here are cut off anyway, I'm going to crop this one this way a little bit. I want to give them a little bit of headroom here in case they want to print this one, and a little bit of room on the sides. Little handy thing. And I'm going to crop this one too, just to make her nice and right and smack dab in the middle. That one's good. That one looks a little dark. And it's kind of to be expected though. So it's shooting outside. Okay, cool. I want to make sure that I'm not missing any data in the whites. I'm going to keep reminding you of that. This guy right here being dark doesn't bother me at all. I actually like that. A little dark. Ah, see, this one's bright. Glad I made it dark. All right. So that looks good. Ooh. Oh, I thought I saw a little bit of noise and then it went away. Well, shoot. I was going to show some noise reduction. That looks nice. Ooh, you know what? Look at this guy right here. So if you look really tight, you can see our sharpening happening. Just a little bit on these edges. It's a little strong. So I'm going to turn this sharp. Ooh, actually, that is a shot outside. So let's take a look at all of our shots that are outside and look close to see if we see our sharpening a little bit on the... Okay, her dress looks good, really good. But these edges up here are a little bit too much for my liking. So I'm going to go back and select all of these outside shots right here. And since we can edit them all together, I'm just going to bring that sharpening in half. Boop, just like that. And we shouldn't have to do anything else, so those are good. We'll zoom in here. That one looks good. Ooh, we have two similar shots here. I don't like his hand in that one. Minus. Okay. Easy. Good. Ooh, I like his hands in this one. That's kind of cool. That one's a little bright. So I can knock it down. There's a couple of things I can do with that. Let's see. How many of these do we have? So this one. So another thing that we can do inside of exposure, like whilst we're making some edits, is we can go right here from the grid view, which can speed us up again. So I can see that the highlights in a few of these images. So we've got what? We made it through to about here. Now we have these ones down here that we haven't done yet. And a couple of them, probably the sun, clouds, we're seeing them in the sky here. So sun was behind a cloud one moment, the next moment there wasn't any sun, or there wasn't any clouds. So I'm going to grab, this one looks fine to me. I'm going to grab this one. So what I'm doing is looking for ones that look a little bit brighter than the other ones. So I have those selected, and then I'm just going to drag my exposure down. Not quite that much. There we go. Okay, so I'll deselect those. So let's go in there and take another look. Okay, that looks better. Looks good. That one's a little dark. Ooh, we have shadows. Now see, that one's a special one. We're going to have a couple of special scenarios where we got to edit those things. Let's go down here. These ones look good. These are awesome. You know what? With them both crying? Oh. I'm going to mark that one with 5. Star rating 5. Oops. That's a really special moment. Okay, these ones look fine. Let's go. There were a couple of bright ones down here. You can see where the automatic adjustments went a little bit, did a little bit more work on these ones because they were a little bright. Probably the sun just went, oh yeah, the sun's right there. So I'm going to grab all those ones and do the same thing where I bring the exposure level down a little bit. And I'm also going to bring the highlights in these down a little bit. I'm not going to touch the whites though. And that's so that we still have contrast in the highlights. And you can see like we're going to need to do some other things. This, what's happening here with this in the sky here is it is reaching the edge of that teal right there. Looks like there's a band. We'll have to do something about that. Anyway, these ones down here look a little bit dark. So I'm going to grab those and bring them up. Better. Okay, cool. So, okay, we've been through our entire images now that we've applied our sharpening. We've looked for, oh, no, I didn't. Wait, I didn't do cropping during there was a couple things that I wanted to take out here. Yeah, I'd really like to be able to crop this guy with a video camera, but I'm going to crop that guy out. but mostly this arm that's coming in, the disembodied or whatever arm, I would crop that out. So, I'm going to do that. I'll bring the crop in. Oh, see if he's like right on the edge there. See, gone. Didn't even see him. That looks good. Cool. Looks like we got a guy on the edge here. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to take that guy out without cutting into this guy, so I'm going to have to leave that one. Let's see here. Just looking for things inside the frame that I'd like to chop out or straighten up. Sometimes these things can be irritating, you know, when they're across the top of the frame like that. I think that this one's pretty close though. Like, yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to get any straighter. The nature of bamboo. So, I think we can make this one better though. There we go. Let's see here. Okay. Yeah. Now I think we have it. Nah, we're good. Okay. Yeah. Now we're done. So we made our first pass, made some basic edits. We fixed any problems, major problems that we saw inside these images. Now we're going to take a second pass. This time we're going to do another significant chunk of the processing. Okay. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start to use my color labels as I go through these so that I can pick up where I left off and I don't forget where I'm at and get lost. So that would be, this is kind of the second editing pass. Oops, I'm going to hit escape. Typically when I'm doing an edit on a wedding, I will have a look that I want to give to the images in the wedding. And so let's open the presets panel. This is typically where I will find a preset that I want or a look that I want to give. So let's find a good image here. Most of these are outside, so I'm going to find a good outside image to use or to find or apply our look to. So this is a good one here, good example. The color right now is spot on, it looks good. Let's take a look at a couple of our different options. I don't like to overdo it, so I'm going to find a color and then probably in the color films print category, not low contrast. I don't think that's going to work because we're outside and I like to give it a little bit of pop. So we can look at some of these options and just hover over them. Actually, I think I have that turned off. So I'm going to, Reala has a little bit of some sharpening that applies and it makes skin look nice. So it also has a like summery vibe. There we go, you can see it updated. Oh, I think I have a lot of images selected. Anyway, so I'm going to go with Reala, just regular Fuji Reala. I'm going to select it and then drop it on add layer. So now it's in its own layer. Okay. And so that's the look that I'm going to give to this shot. I'll turn it off. And then I'll turn it back on. So you can see that it's just giving a little bit of pop. You can see that the blues here and the shadows, it brings those up. And it has a nice touch to the suits. So anyway, so that's going to be my look. I'm going to use Fuji Reala, okay? So I'll hit escape. And now, I put that in its own layer, right? So I'm going to undo what I did there. Delete layer. And then I'm going to, I want to select all of the images that I haven't marked with yellow. Okay, just like that. So now all of these images, minus the one we marked yellow. And I will take our Fuji Reala preset and do the same thing to all of them. So now they all have that preset applied to them. So I'm going to hit Command D to deselect those images. So now I have, oh, I'm going to do one more thing. So now I have a layer on the bottom, which was our basic edits. Then I have my Fuji Reala, that's my preset layer, that's the look that I'm getting to these images. And then I have one more thing that I want to do, and that is control light and shadow. Okay, and so I'm going to add another layer, and I'm just going to rename it light dark. Okay? So it's generic, right? There's nothing applied to this layer yet. It is blank. There's nothing. See, it says no adjustments. If I highlight it right here, okay? Now I'm going to deselect. So I have all of these images here have the preset applied to them, and they have this light dark layer, okay? So I'm going to select them all, and then I'm going to mark them with 6, so they're red, okay? So they disappeared, obviously. I'm going to turn my filter off, go back, turn on the flag filter, okay? So now everything that's red has its layers. Everything that's yellow has its automatic adjustments applied to it. We'll apply our, let's do the yellow one now. So now we have these shots. These are black and whites. And so I'm going to, I'll find a black and white preset. I'll go with Tri-X 400 is my favorite. But, okay, so now I'm going to close my presets panel. So, okay, plain old preset applied here. Those are good. And then I can turn off my filter. So now I have image. No, you know what? I forgot to add my light and dark layer. Rename light dark. Okay. Good. You know, as a matter of fact, I'm going to take that light dark layer. I'm going to put it right down here underneath Kodak Tri-X 400. And then I'm going to turn that off. Let's go back to all these red ones, and I'll do the same thing here. I'm going to move that light dark layer underneath the preset. So the rendering order of which the layers are in will, if I put a preset like this underneath where I'm going to do dodge and burn, that's what this is for. Let's deselect. Then it will bring up grain and things like that, and it'll have some weird coloring in the preset. So I like to put the preset on the top, and then I do any work to the image down below. All right, so now we're going to finish this image off, and then when we're finished, I'm going to mark it with blue, right? So that's, if we look at our keyboard shortcuts, 6 makes it red, 7 yellow, 8 green, and 9 makes it blue. So when I'm done, I hit 9. Okay? So I'll open up the presets panel, now on the brushing panel, excuse me. Now, I know that I want to make this brighter because it's not quite bright enough, and so that's a pretty easy one. So I'm going to choose dodge, turn the flow down, and then brush in the center to dodge. Okay, so that's too much. Now I'll just take it down a little bit. There we go. Boom. That's what I want. Okay. So if you ever have something that doesn't look, this thing looks so shiny, we don't need to do anything else, but there's a trick that if you ever have something shiny, then you want to desaturate. So that makes it look extra shiny. But we're not going to do that to this one because we don't need to. All right, so let's move to the next image. That one's done. 9. Now it's gone. Okay, here we go. I'm going to hit Command minus. There we go. Now, we've already checked for sharpness on these. We've already checked to make sure that the images are cut the way that we want, cropped the way that we want. So this part actually goes really fast. We have the preset on there the way that we want and all that stuff. So really, I can close my basic panel here. It should be pretty quick and easy to apply, there we go, to apply our light and dark. This one will be lighten again. Bam. There we go. All right, 9. Cool. Same thing here. It was a tiny bit dark. And then let's actually zoom in a little bit. No, that's the wrong button. There we go. So I don't want her head to mix in with the background there. So that's one thing that I'll do is wrap right around her head there and make sure that that is covered with the mask. Do the same thing to all their faces. And then I just do a little bit of a touch on their bodies. And I don't care about their feet because they'll probably say that their feet look ugly, but that's what always happens with brides. Just kidding. Not really though. All right, there we go. So that's what we did. I'll hold down the backslash key. And you can see that I'm just giving a little tiny look there. It's not that much. 9. All right, this one's a little bit moodier, but same rules apply. We are going to use our lighten, and I'm going to turn the flow down a little bit more. Gives me a little bit more control over it. So this is essentially like I'm adding a vignette, just in reverse. Okay, so there was a reason that I had all of the there. So you can see, if I look here, this is the before and then the after. So yeah, so I developed the images a little bit dark, and then I use this light dark, or dodge and burn layer to finish it. So 9, same thing. Now, if you have a bunch of formals like this, here's a tip. You can select them all at the same time and do brushing. It's fine. Okay? So if you have, all the family sitting there, everybody together, and they're all doing their thing, then you could really use the same exact mask and all that stuff. You don't even need to look at it. We don't have that luxury this time because all of those images aren't the same. There we go. And that looks good. Cool. Yep. I'm going to hide this on the bottom there. All right, cool. So 9. Yep, same thing, lighten. Sometimes when you have pictures of brides outside and they're wearing a white and you're in a big green area, like you can see here on her dress in the front, the back looks fine, her hair looks fine, but right here in the front I can see a little bit of green. So this one, I'm going to add a new layer, and then I'm going to make saturation, right? And I'll paint on my mask right here, and then you can see where the area I was talking about was, where there was a little bit of green happening, okay? So, right, that's saturation. That's exactly opposite of what I wanted. So let me go to the layer. The control here on the layer is saturation. So we're just going to take that saturation and move it to the other direction. Okay. We can actually pull the vibrance down too if we want to. There. So now it's more just, there's less color in that, and it'll attract less attention. She'll look cleaner, and it'll print a little bit better this way. So 9. Cool. All right, so this looks great. Let's do lighten. Mm-hmm. 9. There we go. That one's done. Okay, so this time we're going to need darken. Okay, so darken is a little bit different. I do it kind of in reverse. So I go to the brightest areas of the image and try to bring those down so that it has, the important details that might be missing, like his back and his neck right here. Now you can see that I'm masking pretty wildly, and that's because you don't really need to make it all that sharp, because I have the flow rate really low, so it makes it really quick and easy for me. See? Okay, so 9. Same thing. Right? So you can also select, if you're going to select all your bright tones, you can use the color constraints. But when I'm doing wedding photography like this, I'd rather have the control of using the brush, because I just feel like it just works a little bit better for me. So if you ever go a little bit too, you can hold down Alt, and then I'll switch you to the eraser tool. And you might notice the eraser tool has a very low flow rate as well. And that just gives me a little bit more control with the mouse. Okay, cool. That one's fine. So where are we at? 37. So that one's fine. That one is good. Let's make his sleeve a little bit darker right here, and then the back of his head a little darker. Whoop. Nice and quick. 9. Every time I'm done, I'm pushing 9. So this one is right in between, in the middle, so when in doubt, I'm going to go a light. There we go. Same thing here. There we go. There is one of those things about when you're editing wedding pictures is you have quite a few wedding pictures to edit. You know, it's not just one or two. So you have a lot of repetitive stuff. And so that's kind of when you develop your workflow, like when I was telling you as I was editing at the beginning, you want to break down what edits you're doing so that you're just doing like one repetitive thing really quick. Okay? So like what I'm doing here where I just have the little bit of masking that I do. And then anytime I have something weird or bizarre happening in the image, then I can break out the other tool and fix that, you know. But other than that, we're good. And then I'll put 9. Okay. So that one had both. Oh, that's why. Dark. Oops. Darken. There we go. And she's a little bit dark in that one, so I will add a lighten. There we go. Now I'm adding this lightning. Oh, you might want to check this out. So let's zoom in. I made a point earlier about the order of which we're adding our effects. And so I don't think that we've pushed it too far here, but if I move, if you check out her dress and such, it doesn't look like it's throwing a bunch of, well, actually it does. You can see some of that green coloring coming in on the sides. So I'm going to put that dodge layer down below that Fuji Reala, and that kind of minimizes that. So that one's done. 9. Here we go. 23 more images to go. All right. Here's a tough one, right? Because we have sun and then we have shade. So we are going to need to make it brighter. Okay, so well, you can do whatever you want. But if you're tempted to try to make this shadow right here go away, you're not going to be able to do that and make it look natural. So I would just kind of minimize that effect. You know, let the edge of the shadow be there, but then fill it in with a little bit of light, like it's bouncing in from somewhere, make it look natural. I wouldn't try to just cream it. Okay, so let's see here, almost there. Bring her arm back. There we go. Okay, I'll push 9. Ooh, this one's dark. All right. This one's going to be opposite, right? We're going to make it darker. So I'll put darken. We'll go to our mask and brush it in on that side. Bring him down a touch. And then, no, he already has enough bounce line on his face. That looks good. 9. I'm going to bring down the exposure on this one a little bit. No, I'm not. No, I'm glad I tried that, because it wasn't what I wanted. You can see how these shadows are playing tricks with you. This is a tough shooting situation for anybody. I think Frank did a good job on these shots, man. So, but this is the workflow, you know, you just keep working it, a little bit of here and there. Use your brush a little bit. And then, push 9. That one's good. I don't think we need to touch that one. I'm going to bring the guy up a little bit here. Good. That one's fine. Fine. Good. No, that one's good. Ooh, I can't deal with it. Oh, that thing in the background is not straight. Okay, there we go. Oh, saved it. Oh, that one's cute. So like I said, there's a lot of duplication in your workflow. So a lot of the things that you do, man, you do it a bunch of times. So you just kind of get the feel as to what you're looking for. I didn't want their hands to disappear, so there we go. His face is a little dark too. Oh. There we go. Yep, that one's a little bit same thing. So lighten. His face is a little dark. Her face is a little dark. Their hands are a little dark. Bam. All right. Oh, that's so adorable. Oh, yeah. So I'm going to hold down the backslash key so you can see the progress and what we've done here. See? Okay, cool. It's done. Lighten. Cool. 9. It's got his fingers up. I wonder if that's he's saying number 1, or if it was supposed to be like a wolf pack thing because he's from North Carolina. All right. Lighten this one up. Okay. Nope, that one's good. Because of the contrast, I'm like, that is wolf pack. Told you. Oops. No, I didn't want to do that. Undo that. Okay, cool. 9. Let's do a little bit different action on this one. Let's use a gradient. And I want to make it a burn layer. And then you can see we can just control that gradient this way, and that way we can have a nice fade edge, and it's just a little bit of a quicker thing. So I am adding burning, which is going to add some color variation and stuff here, but that's totally okay. And so that way, if I want to erase, erase where that effect is hitting, I don't want it to hit them, so I will remove them from the middle. And there we go. 9. This one I can just use the dodge. Cool. Get that shadow a little bit too. There it is. 9. Good. Almost there. Oh, so pretty. Let's do, this one. We want to lighten. This one's going to be really easy. See that? Oh yeah. Okay, so yeah, what I was going to say was don't be tempted to go in and do all of the little detail-y bits, especially if, you know, the client hasn't told you if they like the image yet or if they want to print it or anything like that. So a lot of the time I spend, you know, early on in doing wedding photography, I spent a lot of time editing a lot of photos that nobody looked at more than once. So my recommendation is to be lazy. Okay, so maybe that came out wrong. Not lazy, but my recommendation would be to keep yourself from overworking in the early stages of development. That one's good. You know what? I'm going to use the spot heal. This is actually a really good example of using the clone tool so that we can get rid of these people in the background. At least the ones that are right there. You know. And so we can just make that a little bit bigger. Oop. Yeah, that's better. I think if they said they wanted to print this, I'd go in and I'd take that one out too. But that's going to take me probably a few minutes to take out because it's right there on the edge of his arm. And like I said, if they'd want it, then I would, I'd go in and I'd tweak it some more. So that one's that and that. Okay, good. That one's cute. We got a little bit of some dark happening on the side of that one girl's face there. So let's handle that one. so that her face is kind of reads like everybody else's. That's good. Sometimes people with dark hair too, you can add a little bit of brightening or a little bit of lightening to their hair so that it looks a little lighter and they like you for it. And so there we go. Sometimes I'll do that to the shadows just to tweak them a little bit too. There we go. Yeah, I know. So you can also, if you know that the thing's going to be a repeat of what you just did, you can put the brushing in before you choose to make it lighten. Doesn't matter. There we go. Shazam! All right, so now we have all our color images done, and you can see that they're marked with the blue. Now we just have our few black and whites, and it's a very, very similar workflow to what we did there previously. Now, with black and whites, I do tend to like to have them darker, so a lot of the time I will use the exposure slider to make sure that everything's just the way I want, and then I will usually, this middle layer is, I'm going to select all of them, middle layer, and I'm going to choose that to be Darken. Okay. So now I have a Darken layer on all of those, and I can just quick go in here and make a little bit of some more tweaks to this photo and bring down some stuff that I want to bring down and play up some stuff that I want to play up. Typically, I'd like to take about 1/3 of a stop away from anybody that's ancillary or anyone that's not the bride. I always want her to read the, clearest. And I'm going to add a little bit of brightening, just a touch, to her face. Just like that. Okay, so that one's done. I'm going to do brighten with this one because it's just a little tiny bit. I did say tiny bit, right? Now, I've seen a lot of people do different workflows when they're doing dodging and burning and how they put it on. And I don't know, I always find that the simple way to do it is the best. So there we go. That one's done. And you know what? This one doesn't need any more dark, just a little bit of lighten. Okay, so her dress is nice and bright, and you can see like up here around her chesticle area that it's very bright, so I don't want to punch that out, but I am going to add a little bit of brightening to the top of her shoulders and right here across her collarbones and then right on her face. And that is just to add a little bit of touch right there. Women, I don't know, it just makes them look, there's a power in the contrast between the face and the neck, and then the face or the neck and the collarbone area. So that's overdone. Obviously, I'm going to turn it down, but that's a really, really nice way to add some touch to bride photos, or photos of women too. They don't have to be brides. Anyway, so let's darken this one. This one's kind of tough because there's some stuff happening in the middle of this image that's, detail and important. So I got to do both things. I got to have dodge and burn. So we just did our burning. So let's dodge a little bit. Oop. Let's dodge a little bit here. Okay, that was too much. Okay, 9. We're almost done. I think we've edited about 130 shots, right? Or we went through 130 shots. That's not bad. And then, yeah, all of these are a little bit tough because of the way the sun was setting. But that's okay. We'll fix it up. You want to make sure that their faces read. The first thing that you look at, you want them to see the face, and then you want them to see what's going on. So let's take that down a little bit. Sometimes if you really have to push your dodge and burning, you can, got to get it underneath that. There. If you have to really push your dodge and burning, you can add some contrast as well if you're really trying to pull something out here. There we go. And I think this is our last one. I did that one. Yeah, it's our last one. Woo! All right. Now let's go back to our finals. Here we are. So here we go. We have all of our finished images here, and that concludes our entire workflow. We've gone through and we've edited them, all of them. So they're all processed and ready to go. We have a nice consistent look, you know. We have our color look, and then we have our black and white look for those special moments. And so, yeah. So with that said, I want to kind of wrap this up. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in today, and I hope you learned something. I don't see any Q&A questions, so I appreciate every one of you being here today. And if you want to get in contact with us and with other exposure users, we encourage you to do so in our Facebook group. That's the Exposure User Group on Facebook. Also, if you'd like to share your work with us, we'd love to see it. So please post it on Instagram and use our hashtag MyExposureEdit. Also, I did want to give a shout out to Nate for helping out today with answering any questions, and also wanted to say thanks for and that we hope that everybody stays safe with the hurricane in the area. So that said, wanted to thank everybody again, and I'll give you just a few more minutes if there's any questions you have coming up, and we'll be happy to answer them now. Otherwise, we will see you next time.